This is Module 4, Topic 2, Lesson 1. We'll be doing M4-74, chess 6 through 11. So it says determine the unknown side length of each right triangle, round your answers to the nearest tenth. So we're just using Pythagorean Theorem for this. So remember, Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, a and b are either of the side lengths, and c has to be the hypotenuse, the longest side length. So we're going to be using that to find all of the unknowns. So if we start with 6, it says we have a 5, we have an unknown, and we have a 13. So in the equation, 5 squared plus b squared equals 13 squared. Now I plugged 5 in for a, but you could plug 5 in for b. It won't change anything. Then if you don't know your squares, you can always use a calculator. So 5 squared is 25. We don't know b squared equals 13 squared, which is 169. Now this is where you have to use the skills we've learned previously of how to solve for an unknown. So because 25 is adding, we'll subtract it from both sides. That way we have just b squared. So we have b squared is 144. Now we don't want b squared, we want just regular b, so you'd have to square root it. So b is going to be equal to whatever the square root of 144 is, and that is 12. So b equals 12. Let's do that again for 7. For 7, we have a squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. 12 squared is 144. 15 squared is 225. Again, I'm using a calculator on the side. I don't expect you to know these off the top of your head. We'll need to subtract the 144 from both sides. And that's 81. So we have that a squared is 81. Now we don't want a squared, we want regular a. So a is going to be equal to whatever the square root of 81 is, and that actually is a nice round number. It's just 9. On 8, very similar. A squared plus 5 squared equals 10 squared. 5 squared is 25, 10 squared is 100. So subtract the 25 from both sides. We're getting a squared is 75, but we don't want a squared, we want just regular a. So you square root both sides. Now this one is not going to be a nice number. 75 square rooted is 8.6602 in gross stuff, so we'll round it to like 8.7. That'll be close enough. For 9, we're doing the same exact thing. So we have a b squared, we have a 3 squared, and we got this equal to 9 squared. So we still have our b squared. 3 squared is 9, and 9 squared is 81. Subtract the 9 from both sides. So we subtracted 9 from both sides, giving us b squared is 72, but we want regular b, not b squared. So what we're going to do is we're going to square root both sides, giving us a regular b, and square root of 72. So let's see, 72 square rooted is 8.5-ish, and that'll be it. And it's always good to like double check, like, does that make sense? So like, considering that we have a hypotenuse of 9, this side length's 3, does this make sense that it's like 8-ish? And yeah, that looks about right. For 10, even though they didn't label an unknown side, it's right here. Like, we don't know what this side length is. So you can call it whatever you want, like a, b, x, k. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'll go with x to be like a classic unknown. So it's just, we have our unknown squared plus 3 squared equals 6 squared. And again, if I switch the 3 and the x, nothing will change. Just 6 has to be on this side since it's a hypotenuse. So we have an x squared plus 3 squared, which is 9, equals 6 squared, which is 36. Subtract the 9 from both sides. So 36 minus 9, that's 27. 27 is not a perfect square, so that's going to give me a decimal. So if I square root 27, that is like 5.2. And our last one over here, now this time we have a missing hypotenuse. So it's just slightly different, but just pay attention to what you're trying to do. You're always trying to get the unknown. So maybe I'll call this one y. So 8 squared plus 10 squared equals y squared. So this is different because my unknown is the hypotenuse. It's over here. So 8 squared is 64. 10 squared is 100. I still have my unknown over here. Add these together. 64 plus 100 is 164 equals y squared. But I don't want y squared, I want just y. So I square root both sides, giving me y, and giving me the square root of 164. And let's see what that is. That is like 12.8. And again, you want to double check, does that make sense? Like, if we have a side length of 10, a side length of 8, does this make sense as 12? And that does look about right.